Thanks. Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world and not in that way. So special night recording. I didn't realize till this morning that I have something Wednesday night, so I can't do it. So Sharona said, let's do Monday. We'll do like a reaction show, like all those Titans, podcasts, except better. So tonight we'll talk about what a difference 30 minutes of football makes, not drinking on Sunday, the end of college football, the factory of false equivalencies, and a new segment, Dawn Asks Sharona Questions.
That's right. No.
Dawn has sent me questions that I will ask Sharona. This will I don't know if it go better or worse than when I asked, Jen what we did on opening weekend. But thanks, Jen, for being on last weekend, and sorry about the Cowboys putting you the concussion protocol. I'm sure you'll be cleared to play next week, just like OBJ. So I am Zach Law. This is Sharona. It's September 18th, 2017. Hi.
Hi.
Blue-haired lady, what's going on?
I'm disappointed that this light is not showing my hair to its advantage. It looks kind of blackish, grayish in this light. It's really not a good way to showcase my new blue hair, but it's actually looking kind of good today, so I'm disappointed. But I'm good.
Darn it, camera.
I know. Won't let me be great.
So just to, give Sharona the full experience, so I'm drinking a Rodenbach Fruitage, a Belgian beer aged in oak fodors.
Red fruit.
Fruit juice included. This is really like a drink by the pool kind of beer. I needed a little warm up. And in honor of Nashville, I had a Blackstone chocolate milk stout as my backup. And unlike the Chicago Bears, I'll be going to my backup early. Actually, I don't think the Bears went to their backup at all in the game. So yesterday, we witnessed something weird. That's actually the most points the Titans have scored in a half, I think, as the Titans. Because they scored 31 in the second half against the Jaguars. And well, let's get the Sharona experience, because I was watching Red Zone, so I really wasn't I had the Verizon mobile app, so I was getting play-by-play, but I didn't really see a lot of plays. So, as the first half happened and the Titans offense kept being mediocre, what were you thinking about?
I thought, it's one of those games, huh? I'm only right now getting close to halftime on my rewatch, so I haven't had a chance to really take a look at everything, and I've tweeted some of my thoughts from rewatching the game. At that point, somewhere about where I am right now watching is where the Titans decided that they were going to go with, I don't know that they just said, oh, we're just going to go with Henry, but they started going with Henry, Derrick Henry at the running back position, and he was doing so well. And it does look like DeMarco Murray is still struggling a little bit with that hammy, which is not unexpected. Hammies are tricky little devils, sometimes hard to get over those things. And you've seen him be a little tentative in the preseason and in the first game, week 1 against the Oakland Raiders. So I was getting a little concerned about whether or not they were going to be able to pull it out, but ultimately, Jags are going to jag, and we'll have to talk about this maybe in more detail later, but between their play calling and Bortles being Bortles, it was not a very good day offensively for them. Although it started out well enough.
Yeah, they got the field goal, so it was 3-0, and then the Titans came back. I mean, that's what they did in week 1, is they came back and tied the game. But they still were 3-3 into the second quarter, and they had a lead all year. But I think it was for a while a game that the Jaguars could have had a shot in, but their offense Bortles just couldn't do it. They just finally started turning the ball over, and the Titans were settling for field goals. But once they made it 16-3, I was like, okay, this is, it's done. And it really was. But it was impressive, because I don't know if they scored 4 straight, on 4 possessions, but they did. After kicking, they had kicked 6 straight field goals. They scored 4 straight touchdowns. And even, some rookies that you weren't too happy the Titans drafted made some good plays, so once they're on your team, maybe you warm up to them a little bit, right? She's still
I
frowning.
mean,
Damn.
it wasn't that I would, they were not decisions I would have made, especially not at the time that they were made. And so, I don't know. We'll
I didn't I didn't lead into this very well. So, who had the fastest recorded player on the field in an NFL game this Sunday?
Tyrod Taylor, the Titans.
Boom. See, you got that. That was posted by Josh Norris, who is in the Dynasty League with me and traded up to get him in the 3rd round of our draft. But it worked out. I mean, when I saw that Jonnu Smith, someday I'll know how to spell his name, had a 30-yard touchdown, I was like, wow, Mariota threw this ball way downfield, and he threw a screen pass, and he, had a truck, he was behind a convoy for the touchdown. Yeah, it definitely seemed that Mariota was still a bit shaky, still working on, the chemistry with the players. Decker agreed, and Davis looks like he hurt his hamstring again, so we'll see how he plays.
He's definitely day-to-day with his hammy, too. The narrative about Marcus Mariota is interesting because the announcers were talking about lack of chemistry and timing, too. And you can say that with Eric Decker because they didn't get a lot of time together, but you really can't say that about Rashard Matthews. The situation is that Marcus Mariota is still working on his timing, and the Titans know it. They are doing their best to hide that. I guess they won't be able to now because I'm outing them.
Oh no!
Not just on this show, but on Twitter. So, and I've been talking about this since last week. The Titans are horrible at yards after catch, and they shouldn't be because they've got the talent to not be, but it's because of that issue. And and so that's something that he and they need to work on.
Well, it did seem like there was the talk when he was drafted that he was this hyper accurate quarterback, but it definitely seems like maybe in the way the receivers are for the Jaguars, they have to adjust to bad balls. That's why they had Allen Robinson, because he's got the crazy, wingspan, but don't have him anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, receivers have to adjust to balls, and they have to adjust so they can't run after the catch. And a guy like Tyrod Taylor is fast, that'd be a good thing to do. But you had to Delaney Walker getting his first rushing touchdown. I mean, that was a good play call.
I love Delaney Walker doing anything. So yeah, it was. I guess if you play in a league where you're only rewarded for receiving touchdowns, you were pissed. But and then as you mentioned, Jonnu Smith or whatever his name is, vultured the receiving touchdown, and Justin Fowler vultured a rushing touchdown from Derrick Henry. So. I tweeted Sunday that the Titans hit your fantasy team.
Yeah, I saw that when Derrick Henry scored the touchdown that they put Philip Supernall in, and he kind of got into a fullback position. And I was like, why do the Titans have a fullback on their roster? They're using Fowler less than last year. I mean, the game went really well, so we can be as nitpicky as we want, but it's still they like having those extra tight ends. So I don't know. I don't even know if he plays special teams anymore, but so give him a touchdown, kind of like the year Chris Johnson had that great year, and they were giving Lendell White a couple touchdowns to make him feel good.
Speaking of which, Chris Johnson looks like he's going to be the guy in Arizona while David Johnson's out.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because I think he needs 419 yards to have 10,000 career. Get that, get the 5 figures. That'd be cool to see, and he looked like their best running back. I mean, at least I saw him on the field, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, but I know you were talking in week 1 about just give Derrick Henry the ball, and at a certain point, as I saw the play-by-play, it was Derrick Henry 10-yard run, Derrick Henry 6-yard run, Derrick Henry 8-yard run, and clearly at that point,
he sheds blockers nobody. I mean, it's Eddie George maybe. And I think he's better than Eddie at that. So I did not know as I was rewatching the game and hearing the broadcast, and I think it might have actually been maybe I was listening to the Jacksonville crew or whatever. But anyway, Derrick Henry, I did not realize. Of course, I'm familiar with his career in the SEC, but did you know that he is like a legend in high school football down in Florida? They
Yeah,
were
he put up
playing
crazy, insane numbers because he's so much bigger, right?
12,000. 12,000. I was like, holy cow. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah, in high school they play like 12-minute quarters, and then we play 10-minute, 10 games. Or yeah, he's I think he's been that big since he was like age 10 or something. He's a big guy, and he wears down defenses. I mean, that's what the Jaguars wanted when they got Leonard Fournette in that first couple drives. They were doing it, and then they got Bortles. I mean, it had to feel good. Obviously, this might be the worst offense the Titans play all year, but they still have the Bengals on tap, and they have a few not so good offenses on tap, so that's good.
Seattle's offense is a concern if you are like a Russell Wilson owner, and it looks like Chris Carson's now. Their running back, and he had, it's just with their offensive line, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's intriguing because their line is bad, and they really need.
Don't they play the Bears? I mean, the Bears don't look that good.
Certain type of running back.
What is their schedule? I have to look at that.
Well, Seattle this week, and then I think they play. It's like Monday night against the Colts, and talk about teams playing for a draft spot. Like the Cardinals and the Colts being so evenly matched is a really bad sign for. I think
they play the Ravens, and the Bengals offense doesn't look that good. The Cardinals offense doesn't look that good. The 49ers.
Seriously,
and the Rams, I mean,
it's like the Steelers, and they're kind of in the same place as the Titans. Like they're so expected to just go insane, and Martavis Bryant's back, and Le'Veon Bell's back, and they've been kind of. I mean, the Vikings have a good defense. They obviously starting Case Keenum. Hey, Case Keenum's still getting paid. All these just retread quarterbacks in the NFL, they're still around. By the way, today the Jaguars signed Ryan Nassib. I was like, ooh, that's going to fix you guys right up.
Well, New York drafted him when Tom Coughlin was there.
Well, that was the
4th round, baby.
He was one of those guys like Tom Savage that got like all his hype that he might be a 1st-round pick.
Such a bad quarterback class.
Well, was that the Geno Smith, EJ Manuel? Was there even like a starter out of that whole draft? Like, was Pat White in that class just so bad that I'm like, it must have been.
Let me see. That was in, 2011?
I mean, it was. And how bad did you feel for your man, Ty God, when he made that throw on 4th down?
No, that
and Zay Jones was open, but it was a little bit overthrown, and they would have won if he had made that play.
Well, I mean, it's,
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was 2013. Quarterback, obviously Tyrod's leash in Buffalo is, I would put being a quarterback for the Buffalo Bills at the bottom of the list of things that I would ever want to do, because you're never going to satisfy them. It's just, I mean, it's pretty incredible how I watched. Aaron Rodgers didn't particularly have a great game, but he's Aaron Rodgers, and he gets a lot more leeway than, So anyway, well, I'm familiar with the play. I have not seen it. Yes, I do feel for Tyrod Taylor.
Red zone. It was such a lack of offense. I mean, at a certain point, it was like 6-3 Titans. It was like 6-3 Kansas City. It was like 6-3 or 3-0 Panthers. There was just like a lot going on. I mean, at one point, I know Hunt, after crushing it, had like 8 yards, and then finally came on at the end. But Sharona, you're making waves on the internet, and
apparently
I want to see if you want to, talk about your ESPN is lost and so are we
Sure.
article.
There were 11 quarterbacks in this class. Oh, wait. Um, let's see here. Let's just talk about them. If I don't know if I can sort this by. Yes, I
Level
can.
of suckiness.
Okay. So these are the quarterbacks in the 2013 class. We have E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon, Matt Barkley, Ryan Nassib, Tyler Wilson, who I was a big fan of, Landry Jones, Brad Sorensen, Zach Dysert, B.J. Daniels, and Sean Renfrey. I remember Sean Renfrey, Duke guy.
Poor
Oh, that was
BJ.
also the Cordarrelle Patterson. He had a rushing touchdown.
I felt bad for BJ Daniels just because got the UTC connection and he was on Green Bay's roster. And he was one of those guys who like made the roster and then the next day they cut him.
Aw.
And he never got another shot in the NFL. He worked with Peyton. He studied Peyton really closely. Well, sadly, those you got to like make the cut as the scrappy backup guy and try to have a long career, but you got to kind of get in the door first. And sadly, we'll pour one out. Yeah, why not?
I'm drinking water. I can pour some water out.
So this whole ESPN, nonsense. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, but apparently it hasn't shut up.
I legitimately think that ESPN is trying to fire her, and there's a lot of blowback about it, and they're concerned about what will happen, and
So Jamel Hill called President a white nationalist, I think. Is that right? Or white supremacist?
said he was a
That's
bigot,
different.
and largely surrounded himself with white supremacists, and it's all in my article.
Well, you can talk about it, right? Or you want everybody to read it instead? Read it and come right back. Hit
Well, I
pause.
would certainly like people to read it. Yeah, I mean, when you write something, you kind of want people to read it.
Well, what made you decide? Because obviously this is a subject.
Sorry, my nose is running.
Close to your heart, but it made you think, okay, I want to post on this and I want to get into this because it's a big deal.
Well, I sat and watched it kind of going down, and it was only, and I thought, I might have to write about this, and yeah, we talked about it because I think I said, I've certainly disagreed with Jamil Hill in the past, and but I mean, you're not going to agree with anybody ever 100% of the time. And that's okay. We should talk about the things that we don't agree with one another. Well, maybe we'll learn something through that process. So, so I watched it go down, and then this James Brady, a guy, they used to have a woman doing that job, and I don't remember her name. I think it's the same job. So anyway, he wrote this thing, and let me take this off. And
like the ombudsman job or something like that, but it was like a PR.
So he wrote this thing, and it was so bad. I mean, it was bad, and he started tweeting about it, and that was bad too. And I never really know when the muse is going to hit me. I mean, I've got 3 non-sports things that I'm working on that I can write, that I can work on. And I kind of I don't have to, but I like to let the muse hit me. That's how I did my Ezekiel Elliott thing, is by just letting it develop, kind of sort of in my own mind, and the muse hit. And so once it did, it was kind of relatively easy to, to write about it. And so I did, and everybody's, most everybody, I should say, not everybody, but largely positive feedback.
Do you get that kind of negative feedback that you shared earlier today on Twitter? And feel free to share as much or as little as you want about that.
No, I mean, yes, I get that. When the two, I'm sorry, you guys, I might have to blow my nose. My nose is running.
I guess I should say it goes without saying, like, yeah, female writing
Apologies.
about sports on the internet.
Oh,
Yeah, it's going to
anything.
happen.
Just being a woman and having an opinion on the internet, you're gonna get blowback. But the two times that I have been trolled viciously the most were the times that I wrote about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. And then my Peyton Manning article really wasn't even bad about Peyton Manning, and it still made some people mad. So anyway, so yes, to answer the question, and I wrote the Peyton article first, and kind of survived through that, and then but when I wrote about Tom Brady, the comments were so bad that I did not, but somebody must have complained because the commenting on my website got shut down. And I have not gone there since that happened. There are, I think the last time I looked, about 50 comments out there, and I just, I don't care. I probably am not. I may just mass delete them without looking at them and make my own website where you can't comment, but where I got the comments, on this Jamil Hill thing was on Medium, which I've been using, and I'll upload some content that I write on my website there, and I don't have control over those. As far as I know, I'm kind of new to Medium.
And it goes wherever it goes. Yeah, there's this. Yeah, I was talking about that false equivalency because the comments that you said were like talking about the people that ESPN fired, and I was like, "You mean like Curt Schilling? Like you're comparing her to Curt Schilling because a white guy said something controversial and a black person said something controversial? Clearly, it's the same." It's like,
well, I got called
boy.
sweetie
Yeah,
two or
well,
three times, and then it devolved into me being a ding-a-ling, whiny libtard who this guy apparently holds up to his daughters as an example of a whiny, ding-a-ling libtard not to be like. So free his daughters. I feel sorry for them.
yeah, it seemed like a very misogynistic. Oh, but I have, it's like guy who says something racially insensitive, but it's like, oh, I'm married to someone who's a minority, so I like human shields, and that just it just always goes. What you said still stands on its own. So yeah, I guess you're gonna get that stuff. It means people care, or to take the time to comment to that level is something that's yeah, people have time for that. I mean, sometimes the comments are almost as long as the article.
It was a productive way to start a discussion, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a discussion. I have one subject here, but I think I can't go there. Maybe we'll bring it up at the end. I think we got to lighten things up a little bit. Sometimes we can go heavy. The Titans won, right? We should be all happy.
They won big.
So we're going to try a brand new segment, and I don't even know why I didn't. I do shows, but I don't really assume that anybody watches or listens, and so I don't get the opportunity to say, hey, do you have any questions to add? And sometimes you get some interesting questions. So Dawn, of course, Sharona's #1 fan, and vice versa. So Dawn has asked Sharona some questions.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes. Now we're going to assume this first question. I know you've pretty much given up drinking, but assuming you're hanging out with Dawn,
okay,
what would your drink of choice be?
Well, Dawn's a wine drinker,
Well, he's a tequila guy too, and I hear you might.
I do like my tequila. So it would have to be one, the other, or both. And
Both. That's a good. Those are the options. Yes.
um, I I would say that we would start out with a nice red blend, perhaps a Malbec, and then maybe move into tequila shots, and then
Take a
probably
nap.
to the muesliks.
Do you have a brand of tequila that
Yeah,
that you
there
like?
is Atrios, I think is what it's
Hmm.
called. I used to be a Patron, solo Patron. But where was I in Chicago? I was somewhere and covering a sporting event. Have I told my Kit Harrington story yet?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'll have to tell that someday. So,
Salties.
and I wanted, did I just screw myself up? Am I still here?
I see you.
Okay. So I went into a liquor store to, I think, buy a bottle of wine. And I think I was, and I must have been looking at the tequila because they put me on this cheaper tequila that they said was better than Patron, and I think it's called Atrios or something like that. But anyway, it is very good, and would probably be what I would drink.
Don started liking the tequila with a very elaborate bottle, and I mentioned Patron because Patron used to be what we'd give to the guy who was hosting our fantasy draft every year, and he really liked it. But I guess that Don's stepping it up now. Now let's see how this one goes. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the rituals that you have on like your football Sunday? What do you do to get ready for the big day?
Really don't. I used to, when I would go to the games all the time, I would have these little rituals, but I don't really have one now. Um, it's not much different from what I do any other weekend, except that at noon. And, I'm kind of new to coming back and doing this whole covering the Titans, doing film study and all that. Took a few years, took a little bit of time off from doing it. And so far, I have to say I'm enjoying it again, which is what you should do, and kind of the goal that I had from by taking some time off from doing it. So what I usually do is get up and check my fantasy football lineups, and I'll game a little bit, and then I'll cook lunch, and then it's the game.
So do you have like the Sunday ticket or red zone, or how do you consume your NFL product?
We used to have red zone. Right now we do not. I've been thinking about getting Sunday ticket, but no. So without red zone or being able to stream red zone, it's whatever's being shown locally, which is usually the Titans game and something else.
That's right. Now remember, these are Don's sort of questions.
Okay.
What is Sharona's choice, Brady or Cutler?
For what?
I guess for quarterback.
In fantasy, I think I would have to go with Tom Brady.
Tom
By
Brady.
a smidgen. I mean, he didn't necessarily have, that he's struggled a little bit, but I think you have to go with Brady. Although, Jay Cutler didn't have a bad fantasy weekend last weekend, this past Sunday. So I have him in SFB 7, so.
That's right, yeah. And I have Andy Dalton. God, that's horrible. I actually had a good week. Yeah, I saw that Scott Fishbowl that you were laying waste to poor Lisa London, aka Cabo Curse.
No, I'm kind of
Like
disappointed.
she was listing all the players that she had that like she drafted Rob Kelly kind of early, and that was when we thought Sam GP Ryan was the guy, and he was the guy for about a quarter and a half, and now he's hurt, which is just the way it goes in fantasy. if you write about fantasy and you're in 50 leagues, you're gonna have every player. But yeah, it's nice to see Sharona on the winning side. Don asked Jets or Bills. I don't even know if there's really a choice there.
No.
Yeah, it's like if that game was on TV, you'd probably be like, yeah, maybe there's some escapades on or something.
I mean, if I were a Jets fan, I would have to drink.
I mean, Josh McCown, and now looks like their defense isn't even good anymore. And they had they kept drafting defensive guys, and they had a pretty good line, but clearly hasn't worked out. I should be sipping during your answers, not during the questions.
Synchronize.
Last question: what is Sharona's choice, Browns or Titans quarterback? So I would guess Deshaun Kaiser. Kevin Hogan came in there for a little bit because he had a migraine, and that was when the internet went full Twitter, and like a few people like were making fun, I think, of Deshaun Kaiser having a migraine, and then every person who's ever had a migraine said, "Shut up," and that pretty much ended that. So I'm guessing if you had a choice between Deshaun Kaiser and Mariota, you might go Mariota, maybe.
Of course, I would go Mariota at this point. Sure, yeah.
Sure, okay. Well,
I
did.
like what Deshaun Kaiser, can do, and hopefully, he'll be okay.
He's so young, and it's a weird, rare situation where a guy comes to the NFL. Where if he had stayed in college, especially if he had stayed in Notre Dame, it sounded like the coach didn't like him very much, and he might have been benched. So he almost went to the NFL to just get away because he was a redshirt sophomore. It's pretty rare for a redshirt sophomore to go to the NFL. Sometimes you get a Johnny Football, and sometimes you get a Michael Vick when you have a situation like that. But I did get this Sunday to introduce Dawn to the Big Green Egg pizza.
Mm.
Now, my big problem was he wanted me to make pizza, and I had two choices. I could either make the pizza and bring it over or bring all the ingredients to his house. So I made the pizza. And I tried to go to like a pizza place and ask them if I could get pizza boxes, and they were like, hell no. So I had to improvise and like cut them in half and put them in Tupperware. And Dawn was impressed by my pizza work. But I have to say, it was weird being at Dawn's where both of us weren't drinking. I had a bit much the night before, and Dawn's like you. He's been in it for 3 weeks or so. He hasn't had any beer. It's great.
Oh yeah. Well, opening weekend was so much fun, and I enjoyed hanging out with you and everybody else, and meeting Josh's wife and his little girls, and getting to meet Jamal and all of that. And it was fun, to drink some beer and chill and game with you and all of that. But I got home, and Sunday evening I really did a good job of rehydrating myself. And I woke up Monday and I was like, I'm kind of glad that I quit drinking. And it has kind of been a situation where I've been like, this was a good thing. I think it was a good thing, and I certainly am going to continue that. But when the opportunity presents itself, when I'm hanging out with you, or Dawn or someone else, and if we want to have a glass of wine or whatever, I'll do it. But I think it's been not just good for me physically, but also very good for me mentally and emotionally to quit.
Well, maybe you and Dawn can do like flights of artisanal waters.
I did, it's so funny that you said that, because I did get some water enhancers, although I don't really need it. I've, ever since I can remember, have been really big on drinking water, and I don't, necessarily have to do that, but it does help break up the monotony, to have, and I'll drink green tea and some sweet tea too. So yeah, I've done that.
In the South, you have to drink sweet tea, right?
I have to drink sweet tea.
Although, to bring it back to the Jaguars, I missed what the Mayo comment was, but you seem to be anti-Mayo, and I thought in the South you had, Mayo was like a requirement.
Mayo is gross, first of all.
I agree.
And
it's food spackle.
If you eat mayo, the chances of me dating you or onions are very slim because it's gross and nasty, and it's kind of a deal breaker.
Wow, I
Um,
could never make you my pizza because I always put onions in there. Oh boy.
it's funny because I will eat a blooming onion at Outback. Like, I mean, I will scarf it down, but I generally speaking don't like onions. So, I was going somewhere with so apparently, and I didn't see this until today. Apparently, there was a tub of mayonnaise that Jaguar fans were belly flopping into. So,
Oh no.
like, legitimately, they deserve to lose.
I felt bad.
Hashtag karma.
That was such a. It was like the. I mean, it might have been the first time that they had been above 500 in a while. Maybe they were 1-0 before, but it did seem like there was a amount of hype behind the Jaguars that hadn't been there in a decade, and they just beat the no offense Texans. So yeah, I mean, there was a definite feeling that it was going to be this low scoring slugfest, and it was on the way to being that, but it turned around. I'm talking about emotional, turnarounds. Let's hit the over it or nah.
Okay.
And I don't think we're gonna get Sharon to cry, but we'll see. Over it or nah, another Vols heartbreak.
Um, I am not over it yet. No, nah, I'm not over it yet. Um, I am completely and utterly over Butch Jones. I I didn't even get. I mean, it was like I didn't think that they would win, and so yeah, it's just like it's just a thing.
Well, I had turned to the game. Now we've dropped a lot of our cable channels, so we just have kind of the basics and HBO. So I turned it on. It was like 6-3 in the third quarter, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be one of those games." And I automatically had to tweet, "Oh, it's 6-3. Both these teams are hanging 40 on Missouri when they play them later this year." But then I went back to it, and Florida had scored. I don't know if it was like a pick six or something, but they had taken like a 10-point lead with like 5 minutes to go, and you just said, "This team's not coming back." But they scored a touchdown almost immediately, and then they came and drove down the field. It looked like they were going to score. It was 20-17, and then they just kind of like did the NFL thing where you just stall and say screw it, kick the field goal. And Florida had like a minute to go,
Oh yeah,
and they had like a 3rd and 1, and they ran it up the gut, and the clock was like 30 seconds. And then by the time they snapped it on that last play, there was like 10 seconds to go. But Tennessee treated it like a normal play, and the quarterback like
it was.
moved up in the pocket, and he was at his own 35, so he threw it like 65 yards. I think it was 63-yard touchdown technically. I know Tebow couldn't throw it that far, but that guy threw it, and it was like one-on-one coverage in the end zone in the last play of a tie game, and it was just like, yeah, it was one of those. Did that happen? And the coach who like allowed that to happen shouldn't have left the field. I mean, that just you could
That's
give up like a crazy fluke bounce pass type deal, but that was just like, what
Now
happened?
that is a fireable offense.
Oh boy. And it's not like, he's the 3-time defending SEC champion coach. He's the defending, what is Outback, some bowl named after a furniture store champion.
Anyway,
Yeah, I just thought, as my father-in-law and brother-in-law are big fans, and they're wearing the clothes and stuff. And of course, poor long-suffering Sharona, even she writes about a player she liked, mostly Peyton, and gets in trouble from people online. Like, why even talk about your team? But of course, during that entire debacle, I was looking at the Missouri Purdue score. And by the way, when Missouri scheduled Purdue, it was like, hey, we scheduled the easiest group of 5 team you could play. Like, they clearly scheduled this to win. Yeah, I saw your backup there, your veteran backup. And it was 20-3 Purdue at the half. And was it Jeff Brom? He's not the guy who was the coach. He was a Louisville guy. But anyway, he coached Tyrod Taylor last year, at Western Kentucky, and moved up to Purdue, and they beat the hell out of Missouri. And it's so embarrassing.
All
And that's
right,
why I
so
was saying the end of college football, because I'm like, oh, I started
Missouri's
hearing about college football. Great. That's cool.
Missouri's winless.
No, they beat Missouri State in the opener 72
Okay.
to 43, and they've scored
Oh,
16 points in the last 2 games since. Like,
okay.
Drew Lock won like player of the week, and we hit through 7 touchdowns, and the team has 16 points in the last 2 games. Purdue, 3 points at home against Purdue. Yeah, it was bad. So any like, well, maybe they'll go 6-6. I'm like, Missouri, possibly LSU, possibly Tennessee. They're going to get outpaid for the new coach. They're not doing well. So that's all that stuff. I wrote fantasy football heartbreak because I'm in 2 leagues where me and my opponent were the 1 and 2 scorers in the entire league, and one of us is going to lose. In the League of Funk, what am I playing? Keith from the Seattle guy, 12th man or something. 12th man. Anyway, Titans stole it from Seattle, right? Anyway, he has Golden Tate tonight, and he needs to score like 18 points to beat me. And I almost want to lose because I could lose this game, and I will lead the league in scoring and be 0-2. It's very possible.
That is bad.
And after having the worst graded draft by Yahoo, so I thought that was awesome. And it was like, I actually put Hogan in over OBJ, and I probably should have put Javorius Allen, but I had no idea he was going to just blow up. I mean,
You
you
should
get stuff
listen
like
to me,
Devin Cook has his touchdown taken away. Devin Cook? Yeah, Devin Cook.
Devin.
And anyway. Yeah, so it's likely I'm going to lose. And in my Dynasty League, I'm winning by 4.5. I have Snacks Harrison, defensive tackle, and my opponent has Amir Abdullah. So I think those two are going to be getting to know each other this Monday. And those are the 2 games that I'm 1-2 in scoring and possibly will lose. So do you have any fantasy like heartbreak from this weekend? Or are you feeling good about your choices in life?
Let me. Well, I had Derrick Henry on my bench
As
in
we all did, I think. Yeah.
one league, just in one league.
Oh.
I think I have him in. I think both of my best ball leagues. I have him. But I sat him in one league for Jordan fucking Howard. So yeah, that is going to go down as my worst fantasy decision of the weekend. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I have to say the 0 RB theory is definitely working out because so far the best waiver guys in fantasy have been the running backs. Clearly, like Javorius Allen, also West, I think got hurt, so he's just getting the Danny Woodhead work. And I got rid of him in my Dynasty League. That's how far down I thought he was, like on the verge of being out of the league, and now he's going to be a main stud. And if Jordan Howard ended up in a sling, that means Tariq Cohen's going to get more touches. And yeah, there are a few more guys available. It's always like every week there's 1 or 2 like starting running back jobs that pop open because of injury. Over it or nah, Falcons holding a lead.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I'll just say this. It was an interesting game to watch, and yeah, it does not, at least at this point, we're still early in the season, look like the Falcons have that Super Bowl hangover. It's pretty amazing that Green Bay was still able to come back and be in that game when you consider all the injuries that they have, but it was also a weirdly called football game, and they had I can't. It was in the fourth quarter, or toward the end of the third quarter. The Packers, who were legitimately behind, I think at that point by what, about 20, roughly. They had the longest drive of the game, and I'm like, do they realize that they're behind? And no, this had to be in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it was in the fourth quarter, and I was like, what are they doing? This is like something the Titans would do.
Yeah, I think the Falcons clearly leaned on the run once they were up 34-10, and then like Green Bay scored a touchdown, but they needed 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions, and they missed the first one. Also love the tweet where I had to talk math with Sharona when Jaguars went for 2 and it was 30-9. Yeah, it's hard to do the 2-point conversion math. Seems like coaches don't get it half the time. But yeah, they weren't going to come back. I mean, it made it look interesting, but it was definitely, yeah, you lose. Both their tackles were out, and Mike Daniels got hurt, and Jordy Nelson got hurt. That's the opposite of, zero RB, but he seems to be dinged a lot. And okay, so this happened. So of course, they unveiled the new, football stadium. Always have money in Georgia for football stadiums, schools, not so much. Infrastructure, but definitely football stadiums. So the Atlanta United Major League Soccer team actually filled the stadium. They had 71,000 people for their first game. The LA Chargers moved into the soccer stadium in LA that I think has a capacity of 27,000, and it was a bunch of Miami fans at the game. And of course, I posted that to Twitter, and somebody's like, "Well, they don't really have a fan base yet." And it's like, "Well, they're in LA. How many million people live in that city? You only need 30,000 to go to a football game, but they're just not." So, what are you, I don't know, over it or not on the whole LA disaster with the teams getting no one to show up to watch them?
Well, I do think that I talked about this and said it was stupid, and it was stupid, and now everybody sees how stupid it was.
Yeah, I think those cities that get the teams like Vegas and the Raiders, is there going to be like a concert before or something? I don't know. There's going to be like a Cirque du Soleil in the halftime to get people to show up. I don't know. But it's hard to get that kind of diehard fan loyalty when you're just like, oh, we got a few bucks to move to a new city. And yeah, I always had to say that going, oh, that's why the Titans have a team, because they did that. But okay. That's the way it is. I think every team should move, every few years anyway. So then we understand that there is no real loyalty, and for some reason, we're subsidizing billionaire owners just because it feels good. But speaking of billionaire owners, I didn't write this down, but this is a little bit of an issue going on. So right now, Jared Jones is mad at Roger Goodell and trying to keep it from getting a contract extension. Is that just the kind of thing you're like, I could give zero fucks about?
First of all, does anybody, I mean, if you believe the bullshit that you're being fed about any of this, then, Jerry Jones has a stadium he wants you to build.
Ooh, he does.
I mean, like, seriously, Author Blank said it wasn't true. I mean, who knows, right? A lot of what you see about this is information that's fed to feed the masses, and you have to be smarter in your news consumption.
Why?
Or not, just be like me and be like, oh, somebody said something, well, we'll see what happens.
Somebody said something. Jerry Jones clearly getting in the NFL has been a smart move for him, and he got into the Hall of Fame for being Jerry Jones. So I could see him be mad at Roger Goodell because of, the whole Ezekiel Elliott thing, but he's thinking long term. He's going to do just fine. He's not a vindictive Twitter sending crazy person like our president. He's just, an NFL team. He's actually a businessman who can succeed at that. So yeah, it's probably nothing. Dang, it's nothing. It's not right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bob Kraft was mad, maybe, at Roger Goodell when the whole thing, and Jerry Jones was happy and pushing him, and now it's Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott's going to outlive his usefulness too, a whole lot sooner than Roger Goodell will outlive his.
Yeah, that's, players, even the guys at the top of their game.
Come on.
It's only the
how long? Listen,
Brady types that get to last that long, and then they're gone. Yeah.
How long did the support? Jason Garrett threw Dak Prescott under the bus Sunday night. How long did this? I mean, it won't. Their loyalty is far more to themselves than it is to the players, which is what I wrote about when I wrote about the Zeke Elliott's thing.
Yeah, I wonder if the next like CBA negotiation is going to be tough, because it seems like the players thought, yeah, everything's okay. They kind of gave in, and now they're seeing what happens as a result of that.
I
Like
legitimately
exploding
wonder.
money that's going in may not last forever.
Excuse me. I legitimately wonder how much the rank and file care about all this discipline stuff. I mean, not everybody's out here being a complete and utter douchebag like Zeke Elliott. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, y- legitimately, the percentage of guys who make it to the headlines is very small, and I wonder how much they do care. They should be. I mean, I would think that they're far more concerned about being able to, you know, do what Colin Kaepernick did than they are about how the NFL. I mean, it's all part of a bigger issue, but they're getting paid the money that you know they were able to negotiate in this last deal. I mean, when you sit and and this is what I have been saying, when you sit and you prioritize the issues, what is more, and I don't know, I would like to know, would love to talk to these guys, to the guys who aren't out being Zeke Elliott, what they really think about this, because when you prioritize the issues, if you're not being a douchebag like Zeke Elliott, what's more important to you? Being able to get health care and money, or whether or not Roger Goodell conducts you know, I mean, if you look at the Zeke Elliott thing, should he have been disciplined? I think yes. I mean, I don't even think it's a tough decision.
It was an isolated thing. Like, oh, this one thing happened. And I think some people were trying to say it happened before he was drafted. And it was like, no, that's not.
Anyway,
Yeah. And you keep putting yourself in bad situations, bad things will happen. And really, as you see the rotation in NFL rosters, guys getting put on rosters, dropped, really it's about, if you're a veteran, you make it week one, then your salary's set for the year. But if you're a young guy, you're like,
but I
well, week
will
to
say
week you could get cut.
this. If you're rank and file out there and you hear, if you're listening, if you haven't sat down to prioritize what you want done in this next CBA, you better do it and figure it out, because it's going to be important.
Yeah, because baseball guys had to really fight to get free agency and then to get these guarantee contracts that the normal fan kind of makes fun of. But it's like, if you work that hard to make it that far, you want to make sure that you get as much money as you can. In the NFL, it's one of the tougher places, because even the quarterbacks who get the $125 million contract is like, well, maybe 50 of that's guaranteed. It's never that much. They're gonna give as little as possible, and they're gonna have their giant stadiums with the big falcon in front of it. And I bet Jerry was pissed when he saw that like 360-degree like giant screen thing they have in the top of the Falcon Stadium. I kind of want to go to a Atlanta United game, because they actually like cheer the whole time at soccer here. The soccer fans here are pretty intense. I'm looking forward to it. So looking forward to the future. Titans Seahawks this week.
Yes.
What do you expect? Because the Titans are facing another really tough defense, but Russell Wilson is definitely not Blake Bortles, but he's got to run around to make anything happen. Do you think the Titans have the right kind of defense to take on that kind of offense? Like, are they
It's
going to
interesting.
stacking them all day? Will they have the discipline to not let them kind of make escape and run all day?
I'm only halfway through the Jaguars game, and I didn't tweet everything that I saw. I'm trying not to get, I'm trying to be efficient, to borrow a word, one of my words that I like. I try to be efficient about that. I don't want to tweet a whole lot of little clips out. Um, if Blake Bortles had been better, it would have been a much closer game, because Adoree Jackson got worked a little bit in this game, especially in the first half, but Blake Bortles wasn't good enough to take advantage of that. There's one pass I remember to Marcus Lee early on. I think that actually ended up being, maybe it wasn't a completion, I can't remember, but there was another one. It was down the right sideline. Alan Hearns had Adoree Jackson beat. And it was just, and he ended up making the catch, but he overthrew him out. And it was so weird. The announcer saying, "Well, they underthrew." I mean, he made the catch. He was in the on the sideline, and he made the. I mean, if the pass had been on the money, he was gone. He could have gone down the sideline. It would have been it probably would have been a touchdown. And it wasn't that Jackson was completely out of position. He was right there because the ball wasn't particularly well thrown. I mean, it was kind of thrown. He said underthrown, and I can kind of understand because Adoree Jackson was a little bit behind the wide. Hello, Iggy.
You're getting photobombed back there. Yeah.
Video bombed because he was a little bit behind the wide receiver. He got his hands on it and almost. You could have possibly had an interception, but a good quarterback will take advantage of those situations. And there was two that I remember. And I know people think, oh, she's a hater. No, I mean, I want him to do well. I don't want these guys not to succeed.
She is a hater. Embrace the dark side.
So,
I mean, really? You gonna hold back after all this time?
So, Russell Wilson can make those throws, so I'm a little nervous about how this game will go.
Yeah, I was thinking like Doug Baldwin, Paul Richardson. Like, I don't know how well Tyler Lockett's doing, but I think Jimmy Graham might be out, which would be good news for the Titans. But
yeah, do they still have Luke Wilson? I don't know who they have.
Wilson, I think he's still their backup, so he's there and he's not too bad. Was it Mercedes Lewis for the Jaguars? He's been there so long. Yeah. He might have been there so long that they actually were in the playoffs. Like when he was first with the team. That's a long time, by the way. Almost as longer drought than the Titans. Shockingly enough. Yeah, I was just wondering what you're thinking. My wife became a Seahawks fan. We were in Seattle, yeah. And even post. Don't say anything bad about Russie, of course. Who's in Florida right now sending me pictures of the beach. Yeah, that's where she is. So.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have all this work stuff later this week because I was going to go down and meet her, and it just didn't work out. So, yeah, she's
great.
Partying down. She was like, I brought the rum, and I brought stuff to make blender drinks. And today she's like, I found the blender. She had her drink glass. I'm like, there you go. That's what I'd be doing on the beach.
That's awesome.
Darn right. Yeah, darn tootin'. So can they be victorious? Can the Titans win a home game and have a winning record?
Well, they can certainly beat the Seahawks a lot easier at home than they can in Seattle. I think that they can win this game. I think they're going to need to play mistake-free football.
And Derrick Henry.
Well, DeMarco Murray and Corey Davis both are day-to-day, they're saying. So I really expect them to. I guess we'll find out. This is just Monday, and they have meetings today. Tomorrow is their off day, so we'll know probably a little bit more Wednesday and Thursday. But
we shall see. Well, gosh, we made it to 9 o'clock. Look at that.
Look at that.
And I can go and see if Keith has beat me yet. Oh, wait, is the game start? No, game start. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Oh, still winning. Okay. Golden Tate. Freaking Golden Tate. I tell you. The Detroit Lions, every week, we got to get the NFC East on primetime. It's just required. But at least OBJ's in. I want to see how he's going to look, with the injury. I have him on my roster. I have two rosters.
Between him and Landon Collins, I need about 20 points to win in one league. So I'm sweating. Sweating this one.
Well, IDP makes it more interesting because I have, Damon Harrison, who's like a defensive tackle, but you get 2 points a tackle. And he had 9 points last week, and immediately that poor cat's like, I'm so tired. Why can't I nap?
Oh,
I have to be on all the time. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
So where can people find all your writing and stuff since you're actually, doing that? And will we see a back talk again? Or are you going to be all about the written word now?
Actually, yeah, I've got
You
some
might have other
news.
news, but you can say it. I'm not saying nothing.
I do have other news. You can find me on social media, Twitter at Sports by Sharona, and of course, you can find me writing about fantasy football and stuff at Inside the Pylon. And also on my own website, I write about sports and other stuff. Backtalkwithsharona.com, sportsbysharona.com, which there is a link from the Backtalk website to the sports website. And also, we just announced this day before yesterday. Anyway, NFL Female is now Our Turf LLC, and I am the AFC coordinator.
Ooh.
So I will be in charge of your AFC content.
AFC, is that offense or defensive coordinator?
Both.
Okay. You got it covered. Of course you got it covered. Man, you're all over this football thing. All I have is a Twitter, Zach_Law. That's where you find me. We'll see if we can get some more questions from Don for next week, and we'll try to be on the regular day. Maybe we'll get Keith on to crow about the Seahawks. We'll see how it goes. Thanks, everybody, for listening / watching, and kiss my grits.